If you run an electrical contracting business, you already know that electrical work is one of the more hazardous trades to insure. The liability exposure is significant, and the coverage you need goes well beyond a basic general liability policy. The problem is that most electrical contractors are either underinsured, misclassified, or carrying gaps they don't know about. And they don't find out until a claim hits, and by then, it's too late. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jim Eddington, and I run an independent insurance agency called Western Pacific Insurance, and we help businesses with their insurance needs all the time. Let me walk you through the coverage layers that a mid-sized electrical contractor actually needs, what gets missed most often, and what you should be asking your agent about. Commercial general liability is the foundation. Most commercial electrical contractors carry it because contracts usually require it. But the part that matters most for electricians and the part that gets overlooked is completed operations coverage. Completed operations covers claims that arise after the job is done. Your crew finishes a service upgrade on a $2 million tenant improvement. 6 months later, a fire breaks out. The investigation traces it back to your wiring. That's a completed operations claim. If that coverage has been restricted, excluded, or mishandled on your policy, you have a serious problem. Completed operations matters for every contractor, but for electricians, it deserves special attention. Faulty wiring can cause damage weeks, months, or even years after the work is finished. If your policy doesn't include robust, completed operations coverage, or if it's been excluded to lower your premium, you're exposed. Make sure your completed operations limits match your per occurrence limits, and make sure the coverage hasn't been altered by endorsements or exclusions that could limit your protection on past work. If you have employees, workers' comp is not optional, it's legally required in most states. But for electrical contractors, the details matter more than for most businesses. Workers' comp rates are based on classification codes. Electrical work carries some of the highest rates in the trades because of the injury risk. Electrocution, falls, burns, arc flash on a 480 volt panel. If your employees are classified incorrectly, you could be overpaying. Or you could be underpaying, which means a premium audit at the end of the year hits you with a bill you didn't budget for. Your experience modification rate, your EMR or mod rate, is the other number that matters. It reflects your claims history relative to other businesses in your classification. A mod rate above 1.0 means you're paying more than average. A rate below 1.0 means you're getting a credit. For mid-sized contractors, a bad mod rate doesn't just raise your premiums. It can disqualify you from bidding on jobs. Many contractors won't work with subs whose mod rate is above a certain threshold. Managing your mod rate means managing your safety program. Document everything. Train your crews. Report injuries immediately. Work with your agent to make sure claims are being coded correctly and closed out promptly. If you run an electrical contracting business, you have vans, trucks, or service vehicles on the road, and you need commercial auto. You should not assume a personal auto policy will protect business use or protect the business itself. If one of your service vans is in an accident on the way to a job site, a personal auto policy is unlikely to cover it. For a mid-size operation running a fleet of service vehicles, this isn't just about collision coverage. It's about liability. If one of your trucks causes a serious multi-vehicle accident on the highway, the injured parties are coming after your business. Your commercial auto liability limits need to be high enough to handle that. Don't overlook hired and non-owned auto coverage. If an employee drives their personal vehicle to pick up parts or run a company errand and causes an accident, your business can be liable. Hired and non-owned fills that gap. This is one of the coverages electrical contractors skip most often, and when a theft or transit loss happens, it's one of the gaps they regret most. Your tools, testing equipment, generators, wire conduits, panels, all of it moves between your shop, your trucks, and your job sites. Commercial property insurance is mainly designed for covered property at your premises. It often doesn't fully protect property in transit, at temporary locations, or on a job site. That's where inland marine comes in. An inland marine policy, sometimes called a contractor's equipment floater, covers your tools and equipment wherever they are. Theft from a job site, damage in transit, a break-in on one of your trucks. If you've ever lost $20,000 or $30,000 in meters, benders, and power tools overnight because a truck got hit, you know exactly why this matters. Get a current inventory of your tools and equipment. Know the replacement value, and make sure your inland marine limits reflect what you actually carry on your trucks and store at job sites. For a mid-size electrical contractor, especially one doing commercial work, a commercial umbrella is practically mandatory. It sits on top of your general liability, commercial auto, and employer's liability. It kicks in when a claim exceeds the limits on one of those underlying policies. A single serious event, an apprentice takes an arc flash on a 480-volt panel, a fire causes 7 figures in damage to a commercial building, a fleet vehicle causes a multi-injury highway accident, can blow past a $1 million general liability limit fast. An umbrella gives you an additional layer, typically in $1 to $5 million increments. You already know that most general contractors and project owners require subs to carry umbrella coverage as a condition of the contract. If you're bidding on commercial or industrial work, this isn't news. The question is whether your umbrella is broad enough to sit over all your underlying policies without gaps. And while you're looking at contract requirements, don't just ask about limits. Make sure your policy can satisfy additional insured status, waiver of subrogation, and primary and non-contributory wording. Those 3 come up on almost every commercial subcontract. If your policy can't deliver them, you may not get on the job, or you may be forced to scramble for endorsements at the last minute. If your electrical contracting business does new construction or large-scale installations, builder's risk coverage protects the project itself during construction. It covers materials, equipment, and work in progress against fire, theft, weather, and vandalism until the project is complete. An installation floater is similar but more specific. It covers the materials and equipment you're installing. Panels, wiring, switchgear from the time they leave your shop until the project is accepted by the client. On larger projects, the general contractor usually carries the builder's risk policy. You already know that, but don't assume it covers your installation exposure. Verify it. And make sure your materials and equipment are covered either through their policy or yours. A few additional coverages that mid-sized electrical contractors should at least evaluate. Professional liability, also called errors and omissions, if your firm does any design build work, value engineering, or provides specifications, you have professional liability exposure. A wiring design error that leads to a system failure can trigger a claim even if nobody is injured and no property is damaged. For cyber liability, if you store client data, process payments electronically, or install networked systems like smart building controls, you have cyber exposure. A data breach or ransomware event can be expensive. For employment practices liability, if you have employees, you have EPLI exposure. Wrongful termination claims, these don't require the employee to win to cost you money. Defense costs alone can be significant. If you're an electrical contractor and you're not sure whether your coverage is right, here are the questions to start with. Does my general liability policy include completed operations, and do my completed operations limits match my per occurrence limits? Am I classified correctly on my workers' comp policy, and what is my current mod rate? Does my commercial auto policy cover hired and non-owned vehicles? Do I have inland marine coverage for my tools and equipment, and are my limits current? Do I carry an umbrella, and is it broad enough to sit over my general liability, auto, and employer's liability? Do I have installation floater or builder's risk coverage for active projects? If your agent can't answer those questions clearly, it's time to talk to someone who can. If you run an electrical contracting business and you want a coverage review, there's a link below to get a quote or schedule a call. We write commercial insurance in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and California, and we work with multiple carriers that specialize in contractor risks. And if you want to learn more about commercial coverage, we've got videos on contractor insurance, workers' comp, business interruption, umbrella policies, and more on the channel. Thanks for watching.